Thank you for joining us all today at the Crossroads Community Market. My name is Brandy Brooks, and I'm a candidate for Montgomery County Council at large. I'm joined by Juan Dang, Danielle Matey, and Chris Wilhelm, also candidates for County Council at large, as well as Lorig Charkoudian, candidate for State Delegate in District 20. 3 days ago, Heather Heyer was murdered and 19 other people were injured when a white supremacist drove his car into a crowd of protesters who were boldly standing against a racist demonstration in Charlottesville, Virginia. The current occupant of the White House wants you to believe that this was the unfortunate result of violence on many sides. But we want to be crystal clear. White supremacists who believe in removing everyone from our nation who doesn't match their bigoted worldview marched in Charlottesville to defend a symbol of enslavement. Their actions and language incited one of their members to assault and murder, which they then celebrated on their social and media networks. We have gathered together as candidates for office in Montgomery County to call out this violent, murderous hate for what it is, a complete violation of the values of truth, freedom, and democracy. And we call out Donald Trump for encouraging violent speech and violent action throughout his campaign, for deliberately appealing to racism, white nationalism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and misogyny in his campaign and in office, and for putting white supremacists like Steve Bannon, Jeff Sessions, and Neil Gorsuch into positions of power in our government. But it is far too easy to direct our attention to Washington without looking around us here in Montgomery County. We have seen a rise in hate crimes in the county over the past year. Within our communities, some residents, emboldened by Trump and his followers, have chosen to act out their racist worldview in public. Students in our schools have been subjected to vicious and hateful language from their peers. Local churches have been graffitied with words like Trump Nation, whites only. And yet these are not new issues in our county. 50 years ago, I wouldn't have been allowed to walk through Chevy Chase after dark. And today, despite our identity as a politically progressive county, we are still starkly divided by race and class. White supremacy is here in Montgomery County, not just in Charlottesville or Washington. And as candidates for office, we are here to stand against every way that white supremacy is upheld in our county. When we define wealthy white neighborhoods and schools as good, and neighborhoods and schools with a majority of poor people of color as bad, this is white supremacy. When our black and brown young people are directed into the juvenile and criminal justice system instead of receiving the education they deserve, this is white supremacy. When immigrant members of our communities are criticized for taking others' jobs and draining our resources instead of recognized for their hard work and contributions to our county, this is white supremacy. When county residents of color are disproportionately burdened by the cost of their housing and yet still can't be sure that that housing is safe or healthy, this is white supremacy. When communities of color experience police harassment and brutality because they are presumed to be more criminal than white communities, this is white supremacy. When opioid addiction among white community members is a national health crisis, but drug use in communities of color is a rationale for mass incarceration and economic devastation, this is white supremacy. And when we live in a county where a majority of our residents are people of color, but our local legislature is 77% white, this is also white supremacy. White supremacy does not require anyone to be intentionally racist. It is not merely personal behavior or attitudes. It is a pervasive system and a structure that perpetuates itself. If we keep arguing that racism is limited to only a few bad apples and outrageous incidents while ignoring the stories and lived realities of people of color in our county, we are supporting white supremacy. We are supporting the same mentality that pretends that the Confederate flag is merely a symbol for states' rights and that hate speech is merely innocuous free speech. Ignoring the attitudes, beliefs, and practices that maintain white supremacy is a choice to allow it to continue. Edmund Burke said that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. It is not enough to simply be good people with the right politics. It is not enough to believe that we would have stood up against Nazi Germany if we'd been there, or to say that we marched for civil rights back in the day. It is time to show what we are willing to do now so that racism and white supremacy no longer shape our public discourse and our public policy. Beyond resistance and rhetoric, we must work every single day to build a society that truly embodies justice, not only in words, but in the daily lives of every person in our county. We stand here today united in our commitment to ensure that Montgomery County is a safe and welcoming place for all people. We call on the current county council and county executive to name and to end institutional racism in the policies and practices of our county. We are all candidates for office, but regardless of who wins the 2018 elections, we commit to working together as community leaders, parents, teachers, scientists, mediators, and organizers who will advance truly progressive policy that makes equity a reality in our county. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Juan Dang, and I'm a candidate for Montgomery County Council at large. As an immigrant to this country, I denounce President Trump's inability to call out white supremacists and hate groups for their violent and un-American behavior. Montgomery County is home to 4 of the 10 most diverse cities in the United States. When our president fails to denounce racism, bigotry, and hatred against our fellow countrymen and women, it becomes important, now more than ever, for local communities to stand up to protect the most important fiber of our nation, which is the people, the diversity who call Montgomery County and America their home. I stand by in solidarity with my fellow county council at large and state candidates and all of those who care about advancing a tolerant, inclusive, and equitable society. And we will fight to ensure that Montgomery County remains a beacon of light for tolerance and acceptance of all people. And we will not rest until all county residents, regardless of their race, color, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, or disability, feel safe and welcome in our community.
Hello, my name is Danielle Matey, and like my 3 colleagues here, I'm also a candidate for County Council at large. I am proud to stand with these wonderful people, and I echo their sentiments. And to them, I add the quote of the late Jewish scholar Elie Wiesel: "We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented." When it comes to fascism, racism, and neo-Nazism, there is only one side, and that is the side of justice. Many of our veterans fought against fascism and for justice in World War II. As a Jewish woman, I was taught to say, never again. Many of us today like to believe that if we were there in Nazi Germany in the 1930s, that we would have taken a stand against the Nazis. Well, now is the time to prove it and take a stand against neo-Nazis, fascists, and white supremacists. The truth of the matter is that no one should be made to feel uncomfortable in their own country. Muslims, Jews, immigrants, African Americans, people of color, and members of the LGBTQ community, this is our country. The events that occurred in Charlottesville this past weekend are an unacceptable disgrace. Donald Trump has failed us as a president, and we must continue to resist and to show him that what this country is really about, and that is unity. My heart and prayers go to our brothers and sisters in Charlottesville, and may Heather Heyer rest in peace. In recent months, we've seen an upsurge in bigotry and Islamophobia. Earlier this week, a couple was attacked for speaking Arabic in Rockville, just blocks from the Rockville Police Headquarters and the circuit and district courts. Here in Montgomery County, we are proud of our diversity, and we welcome to our region people from all walks of life. Hate has no home here. That is why I stand here with my brothers and sisters to say that our campaigns are designed to connect with, learn from, and empower community activists from all over the county. We have made this central part of our leadership to learn from new Maryland and immigrant communities, African American communities, LGBT communities, and communities that are low income or new to our country. We'll be unveiling the specifics, and you will see more of this as our campaign develops. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorig Charkoudian, and I'm running for state delegate for District 20. And we're here in District 20, one of the most diverse districts in the state, and we're so proud of our diversity, and we recognize it as a strength. We embrace it, and we commit to making sure that all of our community members feel safe and welcome all the time in their community, in our community. And today I'm here to join my colleagues also running for county council. I'm here to join them in absolutely denouncing the white supremacy that we have seen, the white supremacy that has been unleashed and made the white supremacy that people feel safe expressing because of the Trump rhetoric and because of the Trump presidency. I'm here to join them in denouncing President Trump and the white supremacy, but also I'm here to join them in making sure that we're very clear that even in Maryland, even where most of our leadership is very clear about denouncing white supremacy in its ugly, hate-filled, neo-Nazi marching through the streets form, we need to continue to denounce white supremacy in the more insidious, institutionalized racism that we see in so many of our institutions. And this means that we need to dismantle mass incarceration. This means that we need to address the opportunity gap that too many of our students of color experience in the schools. This means addressing the unacceptable wealth and income gap. This means addressing affordable housing and all the other ways, and voter disenfranchisement, and all the other ways that institutionalized racism really continues to hurt people of color, even when we don't see it marching in the street with torches. Thank you, Brandy, for organizing this, and thank you to my fellow candidates for being here today.
Again, it's a pleasure to be here at one of the wonderfully diverse markets that we have here in Montgomery County to celebrate and to highlight the diversity of our county and to stand against white supremacy in all of its forms. Thank you so much.